Today on Fast Food Face Off, we're tackling the whiskey glaze menu from TGI Fridays. Let's crush some calories.
Fast food, face off! Fast food, face off! Fast food, face off!
What is up, Tasty Vibe Tribe? We wanted to do a St. Patrick's Day inspired episode, so we put up a viewer poll on Instagram, and this is the one that won. The whiskey glaze menu from TGI Fridays. We have their steak, we have their sampler, which includes shrimp, chicken, and ribs. We have sliders, and then we have their chicken sandwich, and then a couple of sides to accompany it. Let's get into it. Before I get started here, fast food fanatics, I need you to subscribe, turn on those notifications. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash the like button, and also share this video around so we can stay growing that Tasty Vibe Tribe. I'm going to get started with the sliders. Let you guys get a closer look. First bite. What is up, Tasty Vibe Tribe? It's time to dig into this St. Patty's Day inspired feast. So pretty standard as far as sliders go. They cooked it well done. Pretty standard for a lot of these companies. The only thing that they'll usually cook the temperature is the steak, which I ordered medium rare. There's nothing wrong with the slider as a whole. It's just, there's nothing special about it. I'm gonna add a little bit of extra glaze because I didn't really get it in the first bite. Much better. These sliders were a little too well done, and they definitely needed the extra sauce. It's a much better bite with that whiskey glaze. Honestly, I would have liked to have seen them done something maybe like rib patty sliders with that glaze, because I feel like the overall sweetness might complement something like pork more than it does beef. Alright, so I'm done with the sliders, and then I'm going to move on to the rest of the sampler, which is the shrimp and then their whiskey glazed sesame chicken strips. These are solid fried shrimp. Really nice crispy exterior. Overall good flavor of shrimp. They taste fresh. And then when paired with the sauce, I mean, anybody who's ever had that TGI Fridays whiskey glaze sauce, it seems like it improves everything on their menu. It's really good. It's something that I do, and I know for some people it might sound disgusting or weird, but when I eat shrimp for the most part, especially when it's fried like this, I just eat the whole thing. Like, I'm not really too picky about like not eating the tail, because I think it gives it a nice texture and it really doesn't bother me. But I understand if it's not your go-to. Maybe let me know down in the comment section what's some weird stuff that you do as far as eating that other people have told you is weird. So everything here that's pretty much like a protein already has the flavor of that whiskey glaze, either soaked in through them putting the sauce on afterwards or during the cooking. But I just got the extra glaze on the side because I do know that sometimes this stuff tends to get a little dry if it sits out. So the glaze is just kind of helping me eat it a little bit. Plus, a little extra glaze has never been a bad thing. Next up, we have their whiskey glazed sesame chicken. I've never actually had this, but it looks good. Let's see how it tastes. So this is really nice too. Pretty decent crisp on the outside. The chicken isn't dry or overcooked. And the glaze is sweet, nice. It balances out the overall flavor. Though I'm not getting a ton of sesame flavor, I am picking it up a little bit. I wish they would have maybe punched up a little bit of that sesame flavor. Maybe even thrown a little bit of ginger in there. I think it might have made this even better. These were a lot like the sesame chicken you would get from a Chinese food store, except a bit sweeter with just a touch of smoke from that whiskey. So I'm going to just stay trucking along here through the rest of this chicken, and then I'll probably move on to the ribs. The unfortunate part about the sampler is that I thought that there was going to be way more ribs than there were. If I would have known that it was only going to be these two pieces, I would have probably ordered like a whole other half a rack of ribs. But as it stands, I'm sure that they're still going to be good. So let's finish this part up. St. Patrick's Day, just like a week away. Let me know down in the comment sections what it is that you guys have planned as far as maybe like food or what it is that you like to do on St. Patrick's Day other than, just get hammered.
I'm drunk. You're drunk. Everybody's drunk.
Next up is the ribs. When we had done TGI Fridays versus Applebee's as far as the samplers were concerned, I know that this was like a big one that you guys had requested, but it didn't really jive with anything that Applebee's had on their menu. So we wanted to make sure to keep it, in the polls that we had done for St. Patrick's Day. Enough of that. Let's see how these ribs stack up. So there's a nice smoky flavor on these. There's like a decent kind of char on the outside. The actual ribs themselves aren't bad. They're a little chewy, but I mean, I have to grade these on a sliding scale because again, this is TGI Fridays, so not too bad.
I was impressed with the overall char flavor TGI Fridays was able to get on everything that I ordered. It was really tasty.
I don't know how you guys are with ribs, but I'm pretty much the same way that I am with wings. I'm very much a person who cleans the meat off the bone. I also have a bunch of sides that came with the food that I picked. Pretty standard fare. It was seasoned french fries. They're loaded mashed potatoes, which has bacon, onion, and cheese. Broccoli. It's like lemon, salt, pepper. And then just coleslaw because I think it would, complement the sampler pretty well. It's not overly exciting, but I'm just going to try to get through it for the volume of food. And as I go through it, I'll let you guys know what I think about it. This has obviously been sitting for a while because you shouldn't be able to pick up mashed potatoes like this. But it actually makes it a little bit easier for me to eat. So I'm just gonna be gross and eat it like this. It's good. Creamy, good bacon flavor, nice cheese, balances out with the onion, gives it a little bit of texture. I understand why people would upgrade to wanting to get the loaded mashed potato. Let's see how their coleslaw tastes. Let's just see how it stacks up. Yeah, so pretty standard fare. If I got anything that was barbecue related, I'd probably get this again. You do get that little bit of a pop of lemon, which I like with my greens. It's nice.
TGI Fridays used to call this their Jack Daniels whiskey glaze, and now it's just the signature whiskey glaze. If you guys have ever worked for TGI Fridays and know why the change, let us know down in the comment section.
So I'm going to try the steak next. My hopes are a little less high for this steak. So the overall flavor and consistency of the steak is pretty good considering. There's a juiciness that's still here. The overall exterior of the steak isn't overly dried out even though it's been sitting for a bit. And the flavor is pretty much just pronounced beef steak flavor. I do wish that there was maybe a touch more to it considering it's supposed to be from their whiskey glaze menu. But I'm going to just add a little bit of the extra sauce that I have and I'm sure that'll make up the difference.
Even though St. Patrick's Day has become synonymous with drinking, it's only the fourth most popular drinking day in America, behind New Year's Eve, Christmas, and the 4th of July.
I consider myself more of a purist when it comes to steak. I'm not a snob by any means, but I've had good steak and I've had bad steak. And for me, I'm pretty much just a kind of like pan-seared in a skillet, salt, pepper kind of guy. Not much else. Maybe baste it with a little bit of butter. Mrs. Fast Food Face Off cooks an amazing steak. It's one of the best things that she cooks. I will say that there is a place occasionally for sauce. I would say that it makes more sense in a more casual dining setting. The reason why is because the cut of steak, the quality of steak probably isn't going to be as good, so you need something to flavor it a bit more. But I don't mind having the whiskey glaze on this because I think it goes a long way for the steak.
When I was a kid, I used to drown my steaks in A1 sauce, and I don't know why. It wasn't until I got older that I learned to appreciate a good cut of steak with no sauce.
Last up, we have their chicken sandwich. I don't hold, too high of a hope for the french fries. It's been sitting for a while. I'm pretty much just going to judge these as far as flavor and not so much texture because they're not going to be very crispy. They've been sitting here for a bit. Yeah, so good flavor, good seasoned fries. I would order these, with a burger or whatever else that they accompany on their menu. Nothing special though. I'll put a little bit of the extra whiskey glaze that I have on the sandwich and then finish it up for you guys. solid sandwich here. You get the flavor of the char. It's a tender cut of chicken, and then it's just well balanced out by the, standard kind of fare as far as the lettuce, the pickles, the tomato. I think I would have probably gone without the deluxe stuff and just done a bacon cheese whiskey glazed chicken sandwich if I were to get this again. Maybe with some of the onions on there too. Good sandwich though. I keep periodically having to stop because there's so much of that whiskey glaze that it's just getting all over the place, and I don't want to make this too gross for everybody left.
Here at Fast Food Face Off, we try to keep the gross level down to a minimum, but sometimes it's just unavoidable.
I'm just going to finish up this chicken sandwich and then we'll get into the final review. I'm going to take the lettuce and the tomato and the pickles off. Like I said before, I don't really think that it does much for the sandwich. I think that they would have been better off going kind of like rodeo burger style with kind of maybe like some onions or some shoestring onions or onion rings, something like that. I think would have been a better option for this.
Now that I'm finished with my whiskey business, it's time for the final review. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Final review time. A lot of this is going to be your mileage may vary. We just wanted to make sure that we did the viewer voter poll. Whiskey glaze, it just seemed appropriate for St. Patrick's Day considering it's right around the corner. All that being said, what was my favorite? I think I would most readily go back to the sampler because everything that's in the sampler just gets complemented perfectly by that whiskey glaze. The overall texture of the fried items just goes well with kind of like, the sweeter notes inside of the whiskey glaze. And if I were to go with some sort of an entree, I probably would go with the steak. The ribs and all that stuff, obviously, if you have that as an entree, it comes in the sampler. That would be a good choice too. But surprisingly, I would say TGI Fridays steak is better than I thought it was going to be. As far as casual kind of fast dining experiences go, Applebee's, Chili's, TGI Fridays, I would say that if you're in the mood for a decent steak and you find yourself at TGI Fridays, I would more readily go with the steak. As everybody already knows, if you're a sauce fan, the whiskey glaze at TGI Fridays is definitely the way to go. Even if you get just any random items on their menu, I would ask for the whiskey glaze on the side if you like sauces. As always, we're going to have the cost and the calories for you guys. Because these are such varying items, the cost and the calories are going to be different. Something like steak and vegetables kind of being on like the lower end, and then something like the sampler, because there's a bunch of different fried items on there, on the higher end. And then the cost actually wasn't that crazy across the board. This is kind of like a meal for maybe 3 people, 4 people, depending on your guys' appetite, but pretty reasonably priced, all things considered. Again, this was an Instagram poll. You guys voted, we listen, and then we put it in the upcoming videos. If you're not already following us on Instagram, you're doing yourself a disservice. That about wraps it up for us here at Fast Food Face Off. So remember, if you are what you eat, always eat amazing.